We look at a forest and see trees. We see stillness, a quiet majesty, a world defined by ancient wood and whispering leaves. We walk on the ground, a carpet of fallen needles and damp earth. We believe this is a world of individuals, a towering oak, a solitary pine, each in its own struggle for sunlight and water. We see the world we have always been told is there, a collection of separate things. And then we see this, a mushroom, the fleeting, fragile fruit of the forest floor. We see it as food or poison. We see it as a curiosity, or as the final, humble agent of decay, a sign that something has died. We have given it a role, the recycler, the undertaker. But this is a profound illusion. It is the greatest case of mistaken identity in the history of life. Because what if we told you the mushroom is not the creature? What if we told you it is merely the flower of an organism so vast it spans entire continents? What if we told you that the ground beneath our feet is not soil, but a body, a living, breathing, communicating entity, a network? What if we told you that this is not an agent of decay, but the architect of life itself? What if we told you that this hidden network is a force of geological proportions, a silent engineer that designed the world we know? That it is the true intelligence of the forest, not a what-if of science fiction, but the what-is of biological fact. This is the story of the greatest engineer on our planet, an engineer that has no brain, no eyes, no movement we can perceive, an engineer that is, quite possibly, the largest living thing on Earth. This is the chronicle of the mycelium, the hidden internet that built the modern world. It begins, as all life does, with a struggle. A single seed, perhaps from a giant sequoia, lands on the forest floor. It is a package of potential, a genetic blueprint for a giant. But it is alone, and it is starving. The soil around it is packed with nutrients, phosphorus, nitrogen, potassium, but they are locked away, chemically bound in rock and dead matter, inaccessible to the seed's infant roots. The seed can sprout, it can push a single green shoot into the light, but it will soon exhaust its small supply of energy. It is programmed to die, unless it can find a partner. And then something reaches for it, not an animal, not a root, but a thread, a single microscopic strand, thinner than a human hair, called a hypha. It is the vanguard of the mycelial network. This single thread is one of billions, trillions, all connected, all part of a single sprawling entity that fills the earth beneath the trees. The hypha touches the emerging root, and a negotiation begins. This is not a simple transaction. It is the most important alliance on Earth. The fungus, the mycelium, is a master miner. It possesses a toolkit that plants could never evolve. It excretes powerful enzymes and acids that can dissolve solid rock. It can chemically dismantle the complex, locked-up nutrients from dead leaves and fallen logs. It has access to a subterranean world of minerals that the seed desperately needs. The fungus offers the seed a deal. "I will be your root system," it signals through chemical exchange. "I will extend your reach 1,000-fold. I will mine the phosphorus and nitrogen you crave. I will even bring you water from deep within the earth." The seed, in return, has something the fungus needs. The seed's emerging leaves are capturing sunlight. They are performing the miracle of photosynthesis, spinning light, water, and air into sugar, into carbon. The fungus cannot do this. It lives in darkness. It cannot make its own food. The seed accepts the bargain. It will trade its precious sugars, its liquid sunlight, in exchange for the minerals of the earth. The connection is made. The hyphae physically fuse with the root cells, creating a new hybrid organ, the mycorrhiza, the fungus root. And in that moment, the seed is no longer an individual. It has logged on. It is now part of the wood wide web. Immediately, the dominoes begin to fall. The seed, once starving, is now supercharged. Flooded with nutrients mined by its new partner, its growth explodes. What would have been a stunted, struggling sapling now surges toward the light, its path to becoming a forest giant now secured. But this is not a one-to-one relationship. The mycelial network is not just connected to this seed. It is connected to everything. It is woven into the roots of the ancient, towering mother tree nearby. It is linked to the ferns, the bushes, the neighboring pines. The entire forest is a single, interconnected superorganism, and the mycelium is its nervous system and its circulatory system. A new cascade of effects begins. Deep in the summer, a drought settles on the forest. The soil dries. The young sapling, its shallow roots useless, begins to wilt. But its partner, the network, is not limited. Its vast, subterranean web extends deep into the earth, tapping into pockets of moisture the tree could never reach. The mycelium draws up this water and shares it, pumping it directly into the sapling's roots, keeping it alive. In another part of the forest, a fir tree is attacked. A cloud of aphids descends, piercing its needles, draining its life. The tree is under siege, but it is not alone. As it begins to produce defensive chemicals, it does something remarkable. It sends a message, a chemical warning signal, but it does not send it through the air, it sends it underground. The signal flashes through the mycelial network, a burst of biochemical data. Invasion, the signal says. Prepare. Miles away, other trees not yet attacked receive this message. They have not seen a single aphid, but they heed the warning. They immediately begin producing their own anti-aphid toxins. When the aphid swarm moves on, it finds not a vulnerable forest, but an armed and waiting garrison. The network has become a biological defense system. This is not a random passive process. As forest ecologist Dr. Aris Thorne describes it, we have spent centuries believing the forest is defined by competition. Darwin's survival of the fittest, trees fighting for light. We were wrong. The dominant force is collaboration. The mycelial network is the broker of this collaboration. It is a vast, decentralized intelligence, a market, a social safety net, a communications grid that has been optimizing the health of the entire forest for millions of years. The network even plays favorites. It recognizes kin. The mother trees, the great ancient hubs of the forest, are connected to hundreds of other trees. Through the network, they can identify their own offspring, the seeds they have dropped, and they preferentially shuttle carbon and nutrients to them, giving their own children a competitive advantage, ensuring the survival of their genetic line. They feed their young who are shaded on the forest floor, nurturing them for decades until a gap in the canopy opens and they can surge to the light. This is the immediate reality. A world of constant communication, of resource sharing, of collective defense. A world where the individual tree is a myth. The true organism is the forest itself, a composite being of trees and fungi, bound together by this silent, pulsing, subterranean mind. But to understand the true scale of this engineer's power, we must leave this forest. We must leave this year. We must travel back, deep into the silence of time. 450 million years ago, we are standing on the surface of the earth, and we do not recognize it. There are no forests, there are no trees, no flowers, no grasses, there is no soil. The land is a sterile, hostile expanse of gray rock and dust. The continents are silent, save for the howl of the wind and the crash of waves. Life exists, but it is trapped. The oceans are teeming with algae, the simple green ancestors of all plants. They can create energy from the sun, but they cannot leave the water. The land is a tomb. The sun's radiation is lethal, and more importantly, the land offers no food. It is just rock. But something was on land. For hundreds of millions of years, one kingdom had already made the leap: fungi. While the ocean teemed, fungi were patiently, silently eating the planet. They were the first miners. Their microscopic hyphae were exploring the barren rock, excreting enzymes, dissolving the very foundations of the world, prying loose the first minerals. They were surviving on this meager geologic diet, living in a state of near suspended animation. Then, the two met. At the shallow margins of the primordial ocean, the first algae washed ashore. They were exposed, dying, baked by the sun. They had the power of photosynthesis, but no way to get minerals. They were stranded in a rocky desert. And the fungi, already there, had the power to mine minerals, but no access to the rich carbon energy of the sun. It was the most important meeting in the history of life. A terrestrial genesis, the great partnership. The algae and the fungi formed an alliance. The fungi enveloped the algae, offering them protection from the harsh sun and a steady supply of mined minerals. The algae, in return, fed the fungi a constant supply of sugar, of carbon. This was the birth of lichen, the first true terrestrial collaboration. But it was also the birth of everything else. This partnership was the beachhead. It was the innovation that allowed life to conquer the continents. From this single alliance, the world was born. The algae evolved, becoming the first true plants. But they never, ever left their partners behind. They carried the fungi with them inland. As they evolved roots, the fungi evolved with them, becoming the mycorrhizal network. And now, the real engineering begins. Together, this fungal plant alliance declared war on the rock. For millennia upon millennia, the fungi dissolved the stone, the plants captured carbon, and when they died, the fungi, in their other role as recyclers, broke them down. This mixture of dissolved rock, captured carbon, and decayed organic matter became something new. It became soil. The very ground beneath our feet is not a given. It is not dirt. It is a technology, a living infrastructure invented and manufactured by the fungal kingdom. They did not just move into a habitat, they built the habitat. They built the foundation for all subsequent terrestrial life. This is the new reality. We are standing 100 million years later. The world is no longer gray. It is green. Vast, primitive forests cover the continents. The air is rich with oxygen, pumped out by this new global engine of plant life. And feeding this engine, connecting it, managing it, is the mycelial network. The winners of this new world. Everything, the plants which now dominate the globe, and soon the animals that follow them, the first insects that feed on the plants, the amphibians that venture out of the water, the reptiles, the mammals, our own distant ancestors, all of them, all of us, exist only because this fungal network first solved the problem of how to eat a rock. The losers, the silent, sterile, rocky planet of the Ordovician period. It was vanquished, buried under a living, breathing skin built by its own children. The ecological irony is profound. The force we associate with death, the fungus, the rot, the decay, is, in fact, the engine of creation. The mycelium is the planet's circulatory system. It is not the end of life. It is the physical mechanism of its resurrection. By breaking down the dead, it unlocks their legacy, their nutrients, and carefully, intelligently, redistributes that wealth to the next generation. It is the bridge between death and life. Without this fungal engineer, the forests would cease, the nutrients would remain locked in dead wood, the soil would starve, and the entire cycle would grind to a halt. What happens when this engineer is removed? We have seen it. In modern industrial agriculture, we plow the fields, tearing the delicate network to shreds. We saturate the land with chemical fungicides and fertilizers. We sever the connection. The soil, no longer held together by the living web, compacts. It erodes. It washes away. The soil dies. We are then forced to prop up our crops with more chemical fertilizers, a desperate artificial attempt to do the job the mycelium once did for free. We have created a world of individuals, and they are all starving, dependent on our intervention. We have silenced the Earth's oldest intelligence. We stand in the forest, surrounded by what we thought were individuals, but we see it differently now. We see that a single rhodor gnawing on a mushroom is not just eating, it is pruning the network. A deer digging at the ground is disturbing a vast subterranean body. This hidden engineer, a single thread-like cell, an appetite for minerals, an instinct to connect. The result, a living planet. It forces us to ask a new question. We have spent decades searching the stars for intelligence, for complex communication. But what if we have been walking on and through the largest and perhaps oldest intelligent network on our planet? A mind that doesn't think in seconds, but in seasons. A consciousness that doesn't operate with neurons, but with hi-fi. An intelligence that is not concerned with ideas, but with equilibrium, with life itself. It shows us that the world was not just molded by the brute, abiotic forces of volcanoes and plate tectonics. It was sculpted in exquisite detail by its own inhabitants. The history of our Earth is not just geology, it is biology, and the mycelium is its greatest, most silent, and most essential engineer. We are not just living on the planet, we are living inside a creation,